So, Luke, first things first, the Bill Clinton speech. What was the reaction? It looked like from what we saw on TV that there was an incredibly positive reaction, but what was going on amongst media people? What was going on behind the scenes?
I was sitting with the media last night, which was different than the past few nights. Actually, where our seats were located last night, it was sort of behind the stage, so you could look out over Bill Clinton's shoulders and see the teleprompter as an especially interesting thing to watch during his speech. There would be times when there's an icon next to the first line of text on the teleprompter, and when it's pausing, it's red, and when it's about to start rolling again, it turns white. And there were very long parts of that speech where that icon was red, the teleprompter was stopped, and Bill Clinton was just sort of riffing. One of the other things I could not see was the fact that some people say his hands were shaking, that there was some gunk on the side of his mouth. I couldn't see any of that, and from where I was sitting, his delivery seemed great, and the audience reaction was tremendous.
Interesting. Yeah, I did notice. I was kind of following along with the speech transcript that had been put out there, and there were a lot of points where he was not so much replacing, but just adding, which was one of the reasons that the speech went so much longer than it was initially planned for. So that's interesting. You had a different, literally a different visual perspective than we did. What did you think about the big business people that were trotted out there? I found this interesting because at the Republican National Convention, the idea was to show how the Republican Party and small business are in line. Now, one of the stereotypes about the Democratic Party is that they're kind of anti-big business, and that's one of the arguments being used when the discussions of Bain come up. So what did you think about some of the big business people, Costco, CarMax, being brought out there?
Even though their businesses are a little larger and they do have yearly corporate meetings, they're not really any better at speaking. I'm thinking of the guy from eBay who started off his speech with a joke saying, eBay is a great marketplace for tchotchkes and old things, and it's just like the Republican platform. The joke was pretty flat. You wonder what this guy's doing. Also, after Sandra Fluke's speech last night, the CEO of Costco came up and really killed the momentum before, I believe, Elizabeth Warren. The transition from Sandra Fluke to Elizabeth Warren seemed like a clear one. The transition from Sandra Fluke to the CEO of Costco was one that really puzzled me. I didn't understand why these guys were tasked. They can defend education policy and infrastructural investment, but they're not the only people. And the Democrats certainly have better people to argue those same points.
Yeah, what was the atmosphere in the hall during those kind of interludes that seemed to be in some way kind of non sequiturs in a way?
I'm not sure. If I were editing CNBC or one of the live, or MSNBC or one of the live feeds, I would have used that opportunity for a commercial break. But I'm sure, probably painfully, most people at home had to sit through those speeches. The guy from Costco, again, right before Elizabeth Warren, there were multiple times where he just stopped speaking and he would really slow down. He was referencing his notes also in front of him instead of using the teleprompters. So, sort of bumbling speeches in the middle of prime time from corporations that I actually think raise more questions than provide any answers for voters.
Yeah, and I don't know that was actually on the national broadcast. I think they went to the anchors, at least on channels like MSNBC and CNN, between Sandra Fluke and Elizabeth Warren. I may be wrong. I don't think I got up at all during that time, but I just don't remember seeing it.
Well, I'll have to check Open Secrets and see if these guys were donors, because the feeling to me really was it was some sort of thing they were tossed in order for their, not volunteer efforts, obviously, but maybe being bundlers or something, that they had the opportunity, like riding around in one of those NASCAR automobiles for one lap at Daytona. Hey, have a 3-minute speech at the DNC, but still, to me, it seemed like a foolish thing because it really killed the environment inside the arena.
And then lastly, we'll see what will the environment be tonight during Joe Biden's speech and, of course, President Barack Obama's speech. Any special preparations that are going on there because of those speeches?
Things are certainly changing. I tried to connect to you guys from out in the arena. The internet failed, but James Taylor was warming up in there. A very mellow atmosphere. The lights a little bit better, more colorful than they were last night. Also, more seating is being roped off in the front aisles, whereas the cameras usually sort of work a zone right in front of the first row of delegate seating. Now, a special section has been cut out, presumably for VIPs who will be the closest to the speech without anyone interfering with them. And also, just one thing is that when Bill Clinton had finished his remarks, I was taking photos and I couldn't see that Barack Obama had come out, but I could hear it. I thought the noise, the volume level inside the arena had reached a peak, but as soon as people started to see it in certain parts of the arena, Barack Obama coming out on stage, the volume rose tremendously. I didn't think it could go that loud, honestly.
All right, so tonight's definitely going to be interesting. We've been speaking with Luke Vargas, our correspondent from Talk Radio News Service. Excellent job reporting for us, Luke, last week at Tampa, the RNC, and of course this week. And it looks like now that you have company joining you there, we'll let you go. Thanks again, Luke.
Take care, David.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with plenty more after this.